Welcome to Podcast Done For You, the show where we make it as easy as possible for you to make the right choices to advance your podcasting career. So let's get started on the show. Business podcast services, what is it that you need to know if you're a business and you are looking to get a podcast out there? Well, this is the episode for you. I'm going to try and answer some of the most common questions that I get asked along the way about this very important topic. Now, there are a number of things that you need to think about when you're planning your podcast. I'm not going to go through every little intimate detail here, but I want to get to some of the key headings that you need to think about. Now, firstly, who is going to handle the pre and post-production? Now, that is something that does take a lot of time. Commonly, there are many hours that are spent in pre and post-production. So don't kid yourself if you think that you're going to do it yourself. My idea for you is that, look, have a bit of a crack, but then realize straight away that from episode 1, you do need to get some support for that. If you're going to be serious about having a proper business podcast, then don't spend all your time in pre and post-production by yourself, because you'll find it to become quite overwhelming over a period of time. So the number one tip that you can learn is from the outset is to start thinking, about outsourcing. That is the best tip that I can give you. Now, when it comes to business podcasts, there are lots of other things that you need to think about. First of all, who is your audience? Make sure that you know who you're going to be speaking to. It's very easy to get into that trap of feeling as though everybody knows everything that you know. Well, they don't. And not only do they not know it, they don't know some of the acronyms and things that you might think about talking about. Now, whether you have a guest or don't have a guest, often that is one of the traps that people fall into. They start talking about topics and people are going, what was it that they mentioned? I mean, have you ever been in a meeting or somewhere where people are firing off different acronyms and you think they mean one thing and they mean something completely different? It happens more often than you think, and it doesn't just stop at acronyms. There are lots of terminologies that become industry speak, and if your audience is looking for you to be the expert, then you have to assume that they don't know everything, particularly when it comes to industry speak. So bring it down to their level. Keep them in mind from the outset. In fact, even give them a name when you're doing a bit of planning. I love to do that when I'm building personas for people, is that you think about a name of a person that is going to be in your key audience. Now, whether that is the name of someone that actually exists or someone you make up, but either way, when you think about what you're going to be speaking about and the level that you're going to be speaking about, you can ask yourself, what would they think? And when it's a real name and it's a person that you have in mind, then it makes it that much easier to correlate that. So that is another big tip for you. Think about your audience. Now, what are the other key things that you need to think about when you're planning your business podcast? Well, you need to think about all of the services that you do need. And that's why I titled this as Business Podcast Services, because there are services that you need. We've talked about pre and post-production. What does that actually mean? Well, pre-production is really about planning what's going to be in the episode, but it is also about things that you need to be prepared for in general to make sure that you have all the facilities set up to record properly. Do you have a recording piece of software? Do you have a decent microphone? Do you have a camera? And what about if you're bringing someone else onto the program? Make sure that you have the facilities in place to record them. Now, does that mean you have to go to a podcast studio? Sorry to say to all of you who are running podcast studios, if you're watching out there, and kudos to you, and I love them when you can have them, but quite frankly, you don't need them. You can do most of what you need to do online. Now, is there an advantage in sitting in the same room as someone? Well, I would say limited advantage. It's always nice to have a conversation right next to one another, but it does increase the degree of difficulty on many levels. First of all, you want to have a multi-camera setup because you don't want to just be showing the two of you all the time. You want to be showing multiple people. Multiple people means multiple people running the production side of things as well, which increases cost, as does actually going to a facility that might provide you with all of those different things, it is more costly than just doing it at home. And does it really matter? Well, I would argue not. We've become very used to a Zoom or Teams type environment where you have two people on screen who are not together but are talking to one another. And that can include multiple people as well. In fact, you even see it on TV these days. So why the need to be in person and increase that cost? And the difficulty level is also increased by the mere fact that you have to coordinate people to physically be together at a particular time. Again, if you can avoid that, then why wouldn't you do it? So think about those things in pre-production. When it comes to the post-production side of things, editing is one part of it, and there is a degree of complexity with that, and you can find editors online, but you want to make sure that you find someone who is going to be able to be managed by you, which means you need to have a degree of knowledge. What is it that you need them to cut in and cut out? How much production work do you want them to do? How much chopping up is there that needs to be done or not done so that it sounds natural? It's not as straightforward as you think. It's great to find a really good editor, but it is hard to find that if you don't know editing particularly. Whilst it's fun to try these things, again, I think it's all about finding a service personally that's going to do all of these things for you rather than breaking it up into small components, which is another tip to think about, because when you break anything up, like anything in business, break it up into small components, ultimately someone still has to play the coordinating role. Someone still has to have enough knowledge to be able to run things for you. So unless you have that person in your team, and unless you want to pull aside your time to be able to do that, my suggestion is outsource it, which also comes to the publishing side of things. Now, we've talked about this a little bit before in previous videos, but I will just mention this. There are multiple pieces of software that you can get onto that will help you publish your podcast. There are free versions, there are paid versions. There are advantages to the paid versions. That's what I particularly use, and a shout out to everyone at captivate.fm. That is who I recommend you use, and we'll include a link in the show notes. In fact, what we'll do is in the show notes, rather than just to one individual thing, we're going to include a link so that if you want to download all of the various sources that I use and recommend, from microphones through to post-production and setup, then there is one sheet that contains all of the links and all of the information you need. We'll include a link to be able to download that through the show notes. So lots of things to think about in post-production as well as planning. And indeed that, what are you going to put in the show notes? It's a little thing that is really important. Make sure you have some things to mention. You want to bring people towards you. You want them to be able to engage with you. That's why we always encourage people to not only subscribe, to download things in the show notes and check it out, but also to share some comments, because we love to follow up with videos that you want to be doing. So if you have a suggestion for a topic you want us to run in the future, then down below in the comments. Now, just to continue on with the services around business podcast services, a very important topic. Again, I'm going to go back to something without repeating too much of what has been in previous episodes, but I do believe the real value is in the co-host. Now think about this. If you are going to be the expert on your program, then you need someone that's going to be asking you your thoughts and being able to give you an opportunity to easily share that with an audience. It's very hard to have a conversation like the one I'm having directly with one person, directly on your own, and pretend that you're talking to someone. It's not easy to do it. And I hope I'm making it look relatively easy. I hope you think that I am talking to you, because I am, but it's not that easy to achieve. And if you want to be able to do that consistently, it's a big thing to take on. Now, there's no shame in having a co-host, because listen to most radio programs and watch TV shows and you will see there is often a co-host. It is a dedicated skill. Don't necessarily think that you can do it yourself. Again, this is something that really makes podcasts fall apart. One of the things that I see more often than not is that when people decide, I'm going to do the podcast with someone else, that's also great, but are they any better skilled at co-hosting the show? But also, most importantly, who is going to be the one taking the lead, doing introductions and doing all those things that need to be done, and who is going to get the most say? Because it shouldn't be that one person gets more say than the others, but I can tell you More often than not, that's why the podcasts fall apart, because someone ends up dominating and the other person decides to leave. So think about all of these things. It's the value of a co-host. Now, when it comes ultimately to your business podcast, think about the fact that it is more than just the show itself. The show is great. You want people to watch and to listen to the show, as I hope you are still watching and listening right now. But there's more to it than just that. The podcast provides countless amount of material in what I call a cascading effect for you to publish on multiple platforms in multimedia formats, multiple different ways, and over many, many months. For example, we could take a small snippet of this podcast and put that into a 30-second reel that we can play on social media. We could take the transcript and turn it into a blog, into an article that goes out somewhere else. We could turn it into small posts. There are many, many other ways that we can pull apart the podcast. So when it comes to when you're thinking about it, remember that it's more than just the podcast itself. You want to maximize the value you get out of it over a long period of time. Just because you had an episode that ran 6 weeks ago doesn't mean that you can't promote it in 3 months' time again. You absolutely can if the topic is relevant. Why wouldn't you do that? So remember, there is huge value in what you're creating. And we could go on for quite a long time, and we have done in the past, about all the value you can get from your podcast. So this was really just meant as a bit of a summary of some of the things that you need to think about. Now, I also want to mention to you that you can get training if you want to do some of these things yourself, or even if you want someone that is going to be doing a lot of the services for you, as we offer at Podcast Done For You. We also can help you with training you in certain areas. For example, to make sure that you're delivering properly. How do you actually introduce topics? Is your voice right? Do you need a little bit of coaching around that area? And the many aspects that are involved in podcasting. If that's something you're interested in, all you got to do is hit me up and we can work something out that is specifically to meet your needs. We don't have a dedicated program to go through because everybody is different. Everybody needs something different. So we make it personal and we just design something to suit your needs. And it could be a one-off session. It could be multiple sessions. Whatever is right for you, we will happily take care of it. That's what a business podcast service is all about. To me, it is about a comprehensive service giving you everything you need. It's no different to going to a lawyer and him giving you everything or her giving you everything you need from a legal perspective. They don't come and say, oh, well, we'll do this little part, but now you have to go over to this person and do that and that person and do that. No, if it's anything legal, they do it under one umbrella. That's what we do with the podcast, under one umbrella, everything from the pre-production to the post-production and the co-hosting in between. We even help you get ready to promote things in so many different ways. So if that's something you're interested in, then please hit us up. This was designed to try and give you some information to think about when you're planning your podcast. I hope it's been useful, and I hope that you will subscribe down below wherever you are watching or listening to this particular podcast. And I do, as I said before, welcome all of your comments. If you have a topic you'd like us to cover in the future, fantastic. Let us know. If you'd like to join one of our masterclasses in the future, again, hit us up in the chat. We'd love to know who you are, and we would be happy to invite you along to the next masterclass so you can learn more about what podcasting is and ask your questions directly to me if you'd like to do that. So that's all from this episode of Podcast Done For You, the show. I hope it's given you something to think about in planning your business podcast and understanding the business podcast services that are there and ready for you to utilize. It's why we're here, and I hope to hear from you very soon. In the meantime, we'll see you on the next episode of the Podcast Done For You show.